Ride along each week as we share proven strategies to strengthen your business, energize your team, and create the business success you've been dreaming about. And now, here's your host, Rich Allen.
Does your organization structure inspire your team to grow and stay with you long term? Welcome to the Ultimate Business Tune-Up Podcast, where our one and only goal is to help you tune up your business so you can have the long-lasting success and fulfillment that comes from owning a solid, profitable, and sustainable business. Each week, we dive into a single topic related to improving your business, improving your team engagement, or improving the relationship with your customers. Our topic today is one that you might think is boring or unimportant: your organization structure. But before you tune out, I want you to know that this topic may be the biggest missed opportunity you have to energize and inspire your team. Don't believe me? Well, give me just 10 minutes and I'm confident I can change your mind. Here's why. One of the first things I typically ask business owners to do when I meet them is to draw out their organization chart for me. If we're meeting in person, I give them a marker and ask them to draw it on the whiteboard in my office. It's an interesting exercise for them and a fun exercise for me because in most cases they haven't actually drawn out their org chart before, and it's often a clumsy, uncertain exercise that we fumble our way through. The drawings are always a bit odd. Very few business owners think in terms of their org chart. They see people rather than seeing functions. So the board's often filled with names of their team members with lines going everywhere, showing how they relate to one another. This is particularly the case for smaller businesses. When someone has 2 or 3 team members, the lines that represent their roles and responsibilities become a bit like spaghetti, crossing one another, shared duties, sometimes doing one job, other times doing another. I often take photos of the initial drawing just to remember where we started on this journey to make sense of how their organization truly works. One day I may publish them as a cartoon book. Who knows? But once you get past the fun part of the exercise, we often move into a serious discussion by asking one fairly straightforward question. So how do people on your team know what opportunities might exist for them in the future with your business? Think about that for a moment. Does the org chart that you use and show to others help anyone who is currently on your team to know what opportunities might exist for them in the future if they stay with your business? My bet is the answer is no. In fact, I don't think I've ever met a business owner who had an org chart that inspires and motivates their team members. And I believe that's because we've never thought about our org chart in that way. We see it as a necessity or a nuisance, something that as soon as we publish it, it's out of date. Someone or several someones have left the company or changed roles, and frankly, we don't have the time to constantly update the document when we know who everyone is and what everyone does anyway. But here's where I want you to think differently. The org chart isn't necessarily for you. It should be for your team. Whether you know it or not, your organization chart can tell a lot about the vision you have for your company. And today, I want to give you a few very practical thoughts on how you can make that happen with just a few simple changes in what you're probably doing already. I want to break this down into 3 very simple areas that I want you to focus on. Number 1, I want you to think about your organization by function rather than by person. This may not sound like a big deal, but here's why it is. If you're a solopreneur, you would probably think that an org chart is a total waste of time. What would it tell someone when your chart would consist of one box, you? But your reality is that while you're the only person who works in your business, you actually fill multiple boxes. You handle marketing for your business. You're responsible for sales. You handle all operations. You are the customer service team. You handle your financials. And if you've got an IT issue, you are the IT professional. I could go on, But let's be honest, the reason you go home exhausted every night is that you've been doing at least 6, if not 7 or 8 different roles in your business. Does this sound familiar to you? I'd be surprised if it didn't. Even if you have a small team, my bet is that each person on your team wears multiple hats. But typically, when we show them on an organization chart, they show up only once. A 3-person team typically has 3 boxes, when in fact, they have the same 8 or 10 boxes that a large company has, but we don't display or recognize it in that way. That's why the first thing I want you to do is to build an organization chart that reflects the functions in your business, not the people in your business. You and others will likely show up multiple times in your org chart, and for now, that's okay. Number 2, I want you to build your organization chart for the business you want to have in 3 years. Don't build it for the organization you have today, but rather take some time to think about what's possible and what you desire, and build your chart to represent the business you want in the future. This means that there will likely be boxes that exist on your org chart, but don't exist in reality today. That's okay. In fact, I would expect that to be the case, especially if you expect your business to grow over the next few years. By doing this, you'll give everyone on your team a picture of the business you hope to create in the future, and many of them will be able to see positions and functions that may exist in the future that they're really excited about, even if they don't exist today. I did this exercise with a client not long ago, and the impact was amazing. His architectural firm had about 35 people, but when we built his org chart by function for the business he wanted 3 years in the future, he had over 60 functional boxes on it. Being an architect, he already had access to a printer that could print large format documents, so he printed his new future organization chart on a sheet of paper that was as large as your home theater screen. He called a meeting of his entire team and walked them through his new org chart. By sharing the future vision of his org chart, he was telling his team that he had plans to segment his business by markets, open up positions for market leaders, and provide opportunities that didn't exist anywhere in the business today. Then he did what I consider to be the magic trick. He pulled out a magic marker and invited everyone on his team to come write their name in the box they wanted to be in 3 years. Everyone was excited to think about the position that they might have in the future and claim that position for themselves. Instantly, the business owner had a clearer picture of the desires and dreams of his team members, and where they put their name on the org chart gave him an opportunity to have a real heart-to-heart with those who needed to gain skills or change behaviors if they wanted to be a viable candidate to fill that future role. From that single meeting, everyone in his business began seeing themselves in a bigger role in the company and working on the skills needed to be qualified for their ideal future role. Is your organization chart doing that for you and for your team members? If not, it may be time to rethink how you're presenting it. But we're not quite finished yet. Here's number 3. Once you have your new functional org chart that represents your business of the future, I want you to identify the next 3 or 4 positions that you intend to fill. Now that you can see where you're heading, it's much easier to think through and plan out what your hiring needs will be over the next several months. Which positions do you want to remove your name from by adding a new team member and assigning them that specific responsibility? I find that many times business owners get stuck in their hiring because they don't know if they should hire a salesperson so they can focus on other aspects of the business, or if they should hire an admin person so they can spend more of their time selling. Once you see your future reality in your org chart, it'll become easier to see the path forward. In most cases, the business owner is the best person to do the sales for the business, so that may be the last position they leave before just being the general manager or CEO. That may not be the case for you, But if you see your name on your org chart in functional roles that could be filled by someone you could pay $18 to $20 per hour so that you could focus on the roles that are worth $200 to $300 per hour, shouldn't you start the hiring process right away to fill the lower level positions so you can focus on the more valuable role? By mapping out your hiring process, you'll be able to make better hiring decisions and watch your stress level go down with each new hire. Trust me on this one. Now, before we put a bow on this topic, I've got to share one last story. It's a pretty cool one that I think's worth sharing. Just over a year ago, I got an unexpected email from a guy named Joe in Malaysia. He had seen a short YouTube video that I had made several years ago sharing this same 3-step process to build your organization structure, and he had a few questions for me. We hopped on a Zoom video call, and I met Jawari for the first time. He shared his story about working for his father's company and wanted to put together a workable organization structure for his company and did a Google search on the topic. That's where he found my short YouTube video. Joe was intrigued with the concept and decided he would use his technical skills to automate and systematize the process of building the org chart for his father's company following the ideas I shared. He wanted to share with me his progress and had a few questions to help him make the process more robust. That's when he shared with me the web tool he built called Org Engine. To say I was excited and thrilled that he had taken this simple idea and turned it into a working, functional online model was an understatement. We pored over his work, checking out the functionality he had built into his system and sharing ideas about how he could make it even better. I'd give him some recommendations, and he'd go put his tech team to work on making the changes. I've been helping Joe with this project for over a year now, and I've been using his Org Engine tool with my clients in beta mode, working out the bugs and making improvements along the way. And as good fortune would have it, just as I'm doing this podcast, Joe's Org Engine tool is being released. If you want to check it out, you can find it at www.org-engine.com. I think you'll find the tool very helpful, and it will help you automate the process of building your ideal organization chart of the future and to do much, much more. And as you can tell, I'm very proud of Jawari. He's worked very hard on this project, and he's a great guy to boot. I feel like a proud father watching his son launch his first new venture. Be sure to check out Org Engine at www.org-engine.com. So your homework assignment for this week is to set some time aside to go through the 3-step process I've outlined for you today. Number 1, think about functions rather than people. Number 2, build the organization chart for what you want your business to look like in 3 years. And number 3, identify the next 3 to 4 positions that you need to fill to allow you to focus on the high-value functions of your business. And be sure to check out Org Engine by my new friend Joe. It'll save you tons of time, and it'll make me smile too. If you have specific questions about getting started, or if you get stuck along the way, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask. I'd be glad to help you think through the 3-step process and get you to a place where your organization structure will clarify your vision and inspire your team. Thanks for joining me today. Be sure to tune in next week when we're going to discuss sharing your profits. You won't want to miss it. Meanwhile, if you have a question, suggestion, or would just like to connect, shoot me an email at rich@tourtoprofit.com. Now go make it a great week, and whatever you do, ride hard.
Thank you for listening to the Ultimate Business Tune-Up. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. In the meantime, find more resources at tourtoprofit.com and connect with Rich by sending a message to rich@tourtoprofit.com. Until next time, ride hard.